Hello and welcome to Big Friendly Grub. I hope you are well. And for me, it's felt like a little while since I've done one of these videos because the last few batch of videos I actually did in one go pretty much. So it's felt like a few weeks since I've done a video, and this is all feeling quite exciting because this is actually going to be my 50th video since starting the channel last year. It was last year, but I can't remember when last year. I think it was like May or something like that. So we're not quite a year in, but I've managed to get 50 videos out, which feels like a huge milestone for me because, to be honest, I didn't think I'd even get to 5 videos. And I've also got to over 150 subscribers, which in YouTube fame terms is pretty low. But for me, I didn't even think I'd get like 5 subscribers. I have a fairly low opinion of myself. It's a flaw. I'm trying to work on it. But I've made it this far. 50 videos, 150 subscribers, that's great. So I feel like we should try and do something a little bit spectacular for this. I say try because I don't know if this is gonna work. So what I'm hoping to do today is do another giant food. So you may remember a little while ago, I made the giant cinnamon roll, which was one of Barry Lewis's recipes. And we're kind of going down that route again. I am going to go and try and attempt to make a giant tea cake, a giant Tunnock's tea cake. And if you don't know what a Tunnock's tea cake is, it is one of these. It is one of these things. It is, you may be able to see the packaging there. It's very distinctive. It's wrapped in foil. And what it actually is, it is marshmallow with a biscuit base covered in chocolate. And these things are fantastic. Let me unwrap it. So there we are. That is a Tunnock's tea cake. You can have a little bit of a closer look there. And let me open it up. This is just basically an excuse to try and eat one of these at like 9 o'clock in the morning, 9:15. So, oh, these things are so good. So you can see there is chocolate, a big marshmallow filling, and some biscuit here, just plain biscuit. And it is so good that my voice went very high. So I have seen people make a giant tea cake before. Barry has tried it and it came out really well. But the one thing that I noticed is that the marshmallow hadn't quite set. When he opened it up, it ran everywhere, which I want to try and avoid. But he made the marshmallow from scratch, which is what I want to attempt today. I've also seen people make giant tea cakes, but using like marshmallow fluff or just melting down a big batch of marshmallows. But I don't want to do that. I want to try and make marshmallow myself today, which is a bit ambitious because I've never made it before. And yeah, so I'm going to try and attempt this in batch for a giant tea cake. What could possibly go wrong apart from everything? So I'm going to mentally prepare myself for that. Let me show you how big I'm hoping to make this tea cake. Let me put this down for a second. So I'm going to be using this bowl. This is going to be like the mold for the giant tea cake. It is huge. It holds about 8 litres of liquid. So yeah, it's going to be a heck of a task to get this turned into a giant tea cake, but it's kind of got the shape. Maybe it's not quite as domed on the top, but to be honest, you struggle to get bowls that have an actual dome at the top because they would roll around everywhere. I really don't know if this is going to go well, but I'm going to be making my biscuit, my marshmallow, and melting down the chocolate, doing it all from scratch. So if this turns out, it's going to be amazing. And if it doesn't, well, there's a lot of wasted ingredients, so let's hope that doesn't happen. So I've got a lot to do, so let's stop talking and let's get on with the 50th Big Friendly Grub video and make this giant tea cake after I've finished eating this one. Hom. Right, the first thing I need to do is to make my biscuit, and I'm going to need a lot of biscuit for this, so I'm going to use about 1 kilo's worth of flour, I think, but I'm going to mix it up a bit, and I'm going to use some of this oatmeal, which I found in the cupboard, which I had left over from some other biscuits, and I'm going to use some of this as well to make up the quantity, because I think this will give it some really nice flavour and a good bit of texture, and it allows me to use this up a bit, to be honest. So I'm going to use about 500 grams of this, if I've got that much. Okay, so I had about 425 grams, so that's absolutely fine. I can make up the rest in plain flour. So I'm going to need 575 grams of plain flour. In this goes. Loads of flour. Good job, I keep lots of it around. There we go, that makes up 1 kilo of flour and oatmeal in total. Then our biscuit needs to be sweet, so I'm going to add in 250 grams of caster sugar. Doesn't need to be too sweet because remember this is just going to be packed in with a load of marshmallow as well, which is basically sugar. So we don't need to make this absolutely 100% super mega sweet. I'll quickly combine this all together with a whisk just to try and get some of the lumps out as well. I could have sifted it, but I didn't. Now we're going to need this to rise, so I need to add in my baking powder. We've got a lot here, and you usually need about 3 teaspoons to about 250 grams worth of plain flour or flour. So I'm going to add in about 10 of these. And obviously we can't have a biscuit without butter, so I've got a whole pack of butter here which I've diced up into cubes, and we want a fairly short consistency, so I'm going to tip in this butter, and basically I'm just going to get in here and rub this into the flour so it becomes almost like you do with pastry and becomes like a breadcrumb like texture, because we want a nice crumbly biscuit that isn't too dense. So this could take some time, so let's skip to the end.
Skip to the end.
It took a while, but this is more like a shorter breadcrumby like consistency. There are some slightly larger lumps in there, but I'm not too worried about those because they will all come together when we add in the next stage, which is our milk. I don't know how much of this we're going to need. I'm going to estimate probably about, I don't know, 10 to 12 tablespoons, but I'm going to just add it in a bit of a time until this comes into the consistency that I want it to, which is basically a dough. Add this in a bit of a time. Right, I'm going to now start getting in here with my hands to try and bring this all together. Right, I'm going to try and tip this out onto the work surface, try and bring this all together because it's getting tricky in the bowl. Right, that is now together into a dough. So what I'm going to need to do is wrap this in some cling film and go pop this into the fridge for about 30 minutes, maybe even an hour, for it to firm up so I can actually roll it into our shape for our base to our Tunnocks tea cake. I nearly forgot what this was, and it's very satisfying to slap this. So this is going into the fridge. Right, it's been approximately an hour since this went into the fridge, so it's time to take her out because I think it's had enough time and I'm short on time today. I've got a lot to do, so let's crack on with this. I'm going to throw down some flour, and I'm going to need to get this rolled out as big as our, I was about to say frying pan, as big as our bowl. Now I realised before I made this that I actually didn't have any baking sheets big enough for this to go on, so I've had to improvise. So what I've done is I've got my whole oven shelf out, wrapped it in foil and then wrapped it in some baking paper so that I can chuck this whole thing in on the shelf without it hopefully sticking to it. So I'm going to pop this down here on top of this. It's only just going to fit. I'm hoping to be able to get under this and flip it on. 2, 3, oh, just about. That just literally just fits. Any bigger and we'd have been in trouble. We might still be in trouble. Then with the magical switch of camera angles, into the oven it goes for about, oh, I don't know, 30 minutes. I've never baked a biscuit this big. And shut the front door. Right, it has been about 35 minutes, so I've been checking in on this and I think this is about ready to come out. Only because I can see it was about to start to catch around the edge. But I think that's fine, but that's come up really well. That is huge. That smells really good as well. If nothing else goes right today, at least I will have made a very large biscuit. So I'm gonna have to leave this to cool down completely, try and transfer it onto a cooling rack very carefully. And then in the meantime, while that's happening, I can be getting on with the shell of the giant tea cake. How the hell am I gonna move this carefully? It's my song I'm gonna sing. Right, for Michelle, hello anyone named Michelle out there. For Michelle, I'm going to need to melt a whole load of chocolate. I've probably got about 800 grams worth of milk chocolate here. And I've held some back, which I've put in the freezer because I'm going to attempt, I say attempt because I've never done it before. So to temper this, I've got the milk chocolate over a pan of simmering water, and this is going to help melt the chocolate without coming in contact with the water, because water plus chocolate equals bad. You will absolutely ruin your chocolate if it gets in contact with water. This is to help it gently melt. To actually temper it, I'm going to have to bring the temperature up to 45 degrees C for milk chocolate, and then bring it back down to 26 degrees C by using what's called the seed, and that's the milk chocolate I've put in the freezer, which will make it really cold and help bring the temperature back down to 26 degrees, and then bring it back up to 29 degrees. So this should give the chocolate a nice shine, but also hopefully allow it to set better as well. So that's going to hopefully what happens today. I say hopefully because I've not done it before. So I just need to nudge this around until it's all completely melted. So let's just skip to that bit, shall we? So my chocolate's melted and it's up to 46 degrees C. So I need to get this off of here, get my seed chocolate out of the freezer and dump this into here. And this will help me bring the temperature of this back down to 26 degrees. Having to stir this with my left hand, which is going about as well as you would expect for a right-handed person. And it is bringing it down. It's back down to about 36 degrees. Oh, how I wish I had a tempering machine at the moment. Maybe one day. Right, my seed chocolate is completely melted, but the chocolate itself is still at 35.2 degrees C. So I'm going to have to wait for this to completely cool down to 26 degrees C, which could take a little while. You guys just talk amongst yourself for a bit. Yeah, I'll be here waiting. Right, it's taken bloody ages, but my chocolate is to about 26 degrees C now because I had to go stand by my open window to get it to cool down. But it is down to 26 degrees C. So this now needs to go back onto the bain-marie, which is our pan full of water in posh terms. And this should take considerably less time to come back up to 29 degrees over the pan. Right, that is at 29 degrees. I'm getting this off here. If I've done this correctly, that should be tempered chocolate. So I'm not going to muck around. I'm going to try and get this coating our bowl to create our shell for our tea cake. Right, I've got my very large bowl out, or what we'll call for this purpose our tea cake mould, and I'm going to pour some of this chocolate into the bottom. Our tea cake mould has been in the fridge, so that should hopefully help us get this chocolate spread up and around the sides and help it set quicker. So I'm just going to start to bring this up. I want a decent layer. I don't want it too thin, but likewise I don't want it too thick so that we can't get through it later. Bear in mind that this is going to have to contain our biscuit and also our marshmallow, which is a whole nother thing. This is coming together, it's coming up the sides of the bowl. I just need to make sure it's fairly even. It's hard to tell once you actually get a coating on. Right, I think that will have to do for now. Probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into the fridge for a few minutes just to help the bottom set up. And then I will do another layer to hopefully smooth it out and reinforce it. And then that is good for our shell. So that's going into the fridge for a few minutes, maybe 5. Right, that's just had a second coating of that chocolate and I'm satisfied it's got a nice thick coat on it now. So I'm going to pop this into the fridge now to set up completely to make sure it is sturdy for when we do our marshmallow, which is the next step. But I'm going to take a bit of a break first. It's lunchtime, I'm going to grab some lunch, do a bit of washing up and then get ready for the marshmallow because I think that's going to be the hardest part. I've never done it before and I'm a bit nervous, but I'm determined to do this. I've got this far. I don't want to waste all this chocolate. So let's get it on after I've had some lunch. Right, I am sufficiently fed, watered and had a break, so I'm now ready to try and tackle the next stage, which is the marshmallow. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I've never made marshmallow and I've had a look online, looked at various recipes and they all seem to have a different way of doing it. Some of them use eggs, some of them don't use eggs. I've decided I'm going to use eggs because that will allow me to have a bit more volume to my marshmallow because I'm going to need a whole load of it. So I'm going to use eggs. It might be the right way, it might be the wrong way. To be honest, as long as I get something that tastes good in the middle of my tea cake, then I'm happy. So I'm going to need a lot of eggs. I've got 2 dozen eggs here. So basically I'm going to have to separate 24 eggs, which I've got here, and get the egg whites into this bowl and the egg yolks into this bowl. So that's going to be fun. Disclaimer, it's not going to be fun. So first egg white into here and the egg yolk into here. And I get to do that 23 more times. You don't need to watch me do that, so let's skip to the end again.
Skip to the end.
An amount of time later, I have 24 separated egg yolks and egg whites, or the other way around. If you've ever wanted to know what 24 egg yolks separated looks like, that's what it looks like. Isn't that lovely? Right, I'm gonna get these in the fridge. I'm gonna have to use those for something else because I don't need them today. Now, as for our egg whites, I need to whisk these up into soft peaks. Could be an offshoot of twin peaks, who knows, but whatever it is, I'm gonna whisk these up into soft peaks using my hand whisk. So I'm gonna do that now, which is, there's a lot of steps in this. A lot of them not very exciting, so there's gonna be a lot of jump cuts and switching around and stuff like that. I'm sorry. Right, that is what I would classify as soft peaks. They're forming, but they're not really keeping their shape. I hope this will hold everything once we add in our sugar solution, and that is kind of what's going to give it that sweetness and also help it to become marshmallows basically. So I'm going to put this to one side and we can get on with our sugar solution. But first, because we're going to really need our marshmallow to set and not dribble out once we actually get into our giant tea cake, if it all comes out well, we're going to need to make sure it sets. For that, I am going to be using gelatin, loads of gelatin. Unfortunately, this is not the vegetarian kind because they didn't have it in my local supermarket. For each one of these, I need to have it bloom and basically dissolve in about 120 millilitres water. I've got 8 of these, so I'm going to need 960 millilitres of hot water, which thankfully I have over here. I need to be very, very careful because it's hot, and I need to put each one of these into this water and leave it to bloom. So basically leaving it to bloom basically just means you dissolve all the crystals of gelatin, so you don't end up with horrible blobs of gelatin in your marshmallow basically. So 2 of those, 2 more, you get the drill. And then I'm just going to stir this all into our hot water to make sure it dissolves. That's all combined now, so I'm going to leave this to one side to do its thing. I've never used this amount of gelatin before and it absolutely stinks. So I'm going to try and put this as far away from me as I can. Right, to make our sugar solution, we're going to need sugar, and I have a whole ton of sugar. Well, 1.5 kilos to be precise, and I've got this over a medium heat. So to this, I'm going to need to add some liquid glucose. I think you could also use golden syrup or corn syrup or something like this, but I think this is decent for marshmallows. How much to add? I don't know. So I'm going to go with the whole tube. Right, that is a whole tube of liquid glucose. I could be getting my quantities completely wrong here, in which case this will be an absolute disaster. But hey, let's not say I don't go out of my comfort zone. And we're also going to need water, and I'm going to put in roughly a pint of water here. And then it's just a case of letting this all dissolve, and it could take quite a while. So this is a video of basically jump cuts. So let's do that again. Right, you can see my sugar solution is now being very, very active, so I'm going to need to get my thermometer into here, good old thermometer again, because this needs to come up to about 130 degrees C, which is extremely hot, so I have to be very, very careful. So it's about 105 at the moment, so it still needs to come up a very long way. So I'm going to just try and be very, very careful with this, very, very careful. You might be able to see that the sugar solution is actually becoming clear now, which is what we want. Because before it was cloudy, that means the sugar crystals were still all whole, basically all intact, but now they are dissolving into our solution. Keep an eye on this temperature. This is extremely risky, and to be honest, I am not enjoying this one bit, but this is all part and parcel of it. My sugar syrup is up to 130 degrees C, so now I need to act very, very quickly and get this carefully poured into my egg whites while whisking. So if you don't see a lot going on, it's because I'm trying to be very, very careful with this, trying not to burn myself, or trying to whisk this in a bit at a time. Right, I haven't spoken much during this whole process because, to be honest, that was quite terrifying trying to pour that into here. But you can see this is coming out kind of glossy now, which is good. I just need to make sure it's well combined. I'm trying to not make too many jokes because I am still concentrating very, very hard here, but it's coming together. It looks like it's coming together. It's making a hell of a mess. I'm not going to enjoy cleaning this up, but it's getting there. While it's still warm, I need to get some of this gelatin in here. Now, having had a look at this bowl and having had a look at the gelatin, I'm probably not going to use all of this gelatin now. I'm probably going to use about half, I think, because I think otherwise the gelatin flavour might overwhelm this, and also this might end up spilling out in the bowl because I'm right at the brim. This is a little bit nerve-wracking, but let's roll with it. Right, I've had to stop whisking for a moment because the kitchen looks like a bomb's hit it. I mean, look, it's going everywhere. I've separated it into 2 bowls now so I can continue whisking because I was a bit worried I wouldn't be able to reach the bottom of the bowl. So look, it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. This is going about as well as you would expect, but I think we are getting somewhere. It's lovely and smooth and it tastes good. So it hasn't been overwhelmed by the gelatin or anything like that. So I think hopefully once this actually gets into the fridge and sets, it will be all right. But at the moment, this looks like a complete and utter mess. Look at it. Look at that. Look at me. I need to clear this up and then carry on because this is ridiculous. Okay, some time has passed. The kitchen vaguely looks less like a bomb's hit it. Bubble and squeak a bit more cleaned off. So I was a bit concerned because this wasn't really coming into a consistency that I thought was going to work. I was hoping to get some stiff peaks and stuff like that. But I thought, well, it's got a load of gelatin and stuff in it. Maybe it doesn't need to come up to stiff peaks. So I've tested it by putting a small quantity into set, and it does appear to have, if I can get it to come out, there we go, it does appear to have set into something vaguely like a marshmallow, but it is vaguely set. It's not had very long, but I think that will become more like a tea cake consistency. It's almost like a marshmallow. It just hasn't had enough time to set completely. But it tastes really quite nice. But I think once it's been allowed to completely set, I think it will be okay. It's a bit of a risk with the amount of marshmallow I've got here, but I don't have much of a choice. And I'm going to bring out my tea cake shell. Remember this, it feels like ages ago now. And I'm just going to pour all this mixture into here and hope that this does indeed end up setting. I ended up putting this into 2 bowls because I had such a time trying to get it all whisked up and set and everything else. It was just a complete and utter cluster bleep. Yes, I bleeped myself. I realise now what I bleeped myself sounds like out of context. This day is going well. Right, that's not as far up to the top as I would like, but to be honest, once we actually get our biscuity base in there and then another layer of chocolate, I think that should actually be okay. This is now going to need to go into the fridge and have a very, very long time to set. I have no idea how long it will take this amount of marshmallow type filling to set, but it's probably going to be a good few hours, so I'm going to need to occupy myself, which is good because I need to clean up the kitchen even more and just wait for this to set and we can come back later. It's probably got to be dark when I get around to doing the final bit of this, but we're getting somewhere. We are getting somewhere. Right, as I suspected, it took a couple of hours, but this has actually set. It does look fairly set now. I think that's as set as it's going to get. It's had a couple of hours in the fridge. So now it's time to do the hopefully final stage of this, which is getting the biscuit on top and then doing another tempering of chocolate to then cover this over. So I'm probably going to temper the chocolate first before putting on the biscuit, because I'm a bit worried if I put on the biscuit, then maybe this will, I don't know, come out. I don't know what's going to happen. It's been a bit of a tumultuous ride so far, but I'd rather have the chocolate ready to then put the biscuit on and then cover this over straight away. I don't want to like leave it just in case the weight of this causes this to sink or something. I don't know. I'm very, very nervous. It's been a bit. So I'm going to put this back in the fridge just to give it a bit more time to set up. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to be tempering more chocolate, which you don't need to see me do, to be honest, because you saw me do it once already. Right, I have tempered more chocolate, and you might see that I have sneakily off camera put a layer of chocolate over the top of the marshmallow, because I don't know if it qualifies as marshmallow, but I wanted a bit of integrity before putting on our biscuit base, because I was worried about it just pressing down on the marshmallow and potentially flattening it or just changing it in some way, shape or form. So I wanted a bit of a protective layer. So I'm going to get the biscuit on here and then get the rest of the chocolate on, because it's gradually going to start setting already. I popped this on top. I had to trim it down because it didn't quite fit. It's still a bit of a tight squeeze, but it's getting in there. It is in there just about. Let's get this in. I'm wondering if I might even need more chocolate than what I've got left. Now the final layer. I think I am going to need more chocolate, you know. I might have to temper some more. I do have some more. I have some backup chocolate. So let's get this spread all over. Let's get this spread into the corners. Yep, definitely going to need more chocolate than this. Ugh, didn't want to have to temper anymore, but it's what happens when you play it by ear and you try and make a giant tea cake. Yes, indeed, I am going to need more chocolate than this. So this is already 2 kilos of chocolate used in this thing. So I'm probably going to need about another 500 grams or something like that just to finish off this top. The annoying thing is my remaining chocolate is slightly different to this, so it will have a bit of a different finish to the rest of it, but I'm not too worried about that at the moment. I just want to get this with a proper layer all the way around it. So back in the fridge with this to let this set up, and then I will finish it off with the last of the chocolate that I have. Okay, after yet more tempering of chocolate, we now have what constitutes a fairly even layer of chocolate along the top. This is as good as it's going to get, but it's all in there. You've got the shell, you've got the marshmallow, you've got the biscuit, it's all in there. The next thing will just be trying to get this out. So probably what I'll do is I'll put this away for half an hour or so, just to kind of make sure everything's set in there. And then it's a question of trying to get it out of this thing. I'm a bit worried because I didn't grease it and I didn't put any cling film or anything like that in there. I'm just hoping that it will come out. We will see, we will see. This has been a big experiment, I know. I don't think tea cakes are meant to be made in this size, but it's huge. I probably will have to cut around the edge, but I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to put it away, then I'm going to try and get it out in about half hour, an hour. Right, this has had time to have a final set, and it is now time for the big reveal. So I'm going to lift this up and just hope this is it. Yes! Yes, 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 you worked. Yes, yes, it worked. Oh my God. Oh my God, I can't believe it's worked. And it's solid. And it feels like it's got, it feels like a tea cake. It looks like a tea cake. It worked. I can't believe it worked. I don't know if you can see me on this angle. I don't care. You don't need to see my face. You need to see this. I am so excited. It's patchy AF, but I really don't care because I could have greased it. I could have lined it with film or something like that, but I was just winging it the whole way. There's a few areas where it could be more stable. You can see it's poking through here, a bit of marshmallow, and some of the cake biscuit is poking through here. But to be honest, I'm not that worried. Can I patch that up? It's like it was never there. It's fine. On the whole, I'm well chuffed with that. Oh, it is so heavy. It must be about, I don't know, 3 kilos or something like that. The idea is there. It looks like what it's supposed to be, and hopefully inside, when it's cut into, it will hopefully stay intact. I mean, the marshmallow is not oozing out of this hole, so I'm taking that as a win, you know. I never thought that was going to work. So I'm going to probably cover this up until tomorrow, because I'm going to take this to work, because what the hell am I going to do with it here? Eat it myself? No way. Diabetes, hello. Oh, but I am so happy with how that's turned out. I think that's it for today. I can't do anything else until tomorrow. And that is looking amazing. It's just ridiculous, isn't it? It's come out better than I thought it would. I had so much trouble with that marshmallow. I thought it was just going to collapse in on itself, but it's turned out so well. That is, I'm so happy with that. You might be able to tell. Of course, this could all come crumbling down tomorrow if it doesn't last the night, or if I take it to work and it all comes spilling out. But I'll take that as the first victory, as the first hurdle, and we'll see how this turns out at work tomorrow. But I'm pretty happy with that. I'll take it. Right, it's the next day. It's lunchtime, and I figured now was the time to bring down this absolute monstrosity that I've created, because I've had to bring the car down because the thing's so bloody heavy. So I've decided to leave it until lunchtime, because quite frankly, who's going to eat a giant Tunnock's tea cake for breakfast? Well, probably me actually, but the only person who knows about this is Christy, who's very kindly filming. Say hello, Christy. Thankfully we've lucked in and it's actually a nice day. If I bought this down yesterday or like Saturday, it probably would have absolutely got rained on. And here's a lovely tour of Brighton Station, where all the taxis live. Isn't it wonderful? Are you intrigued, Christy?
I'm very intrigued. I can't wait to see how big this thing is.
Yeah, it's weighty, let's say that. Thankfully, I was able to park fairly close. It's relatively cold, so it should have hopefully stayed intact. So it's under here. Quick sneak peek, Chrissy.
My God, ridiculous.
I know, but thankfully it's all stayed intact. Oh, Christ almighty.
You get the boo?
If you don't mind. Let's,
I hope this video doesn't become guy drops huge cake down.
Well, they might get the views, you never know.
I'm not going to jinx it for you.
Oh, please don't. I think I would actually cry with the amount of time and effort and, to be honest, money that went into this. I think I'd rather throw myself down the stairs than actually damage this. My life is worthless to save the tea cake. Man gets hit by a car as he throws himself in front of tea cake. Yeah. Concentrating very hard on not falling down the stairs.
You're doing a great job, mate.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, I learned to walk from an early age. I think I need you to get the door. Oh, you're going to have to reach into my pocket.
Where are we?
That one here.
This one?
Highlight of my day. Cheers. Right, made it this far. For comparison, normal tea cake, giant tea cake.
Wow.
That was a whole day's work there. And about 2.5 kilos worth of chocolate, 24 egg whites, and a lot of blood, sweat and tears. I feel like this needs to be cut into.
Let's do it.
Right.
You ready, Matt?
Ready as I'll ever be. It's the moment of truth.
What is this?
It's a giant Tunnock's tea cake, Lussie.
Oh!
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, Mike.
No, it's fine. No, it's all part of the reality of it. Yeah. So it was my 50th video. So I decided to make this an absolute monstrosity of a Tunnocks tea cake. So by comparison, here's what the inside of a normal one looks like. So quite light and fluffy. And this is gonna, well, let's hopefully, I have absolutely no idea how this is gonna work. I've got a crowd now, it's got to come out. Oh, it's going to break. I don't think there's any way to do this cleaning.
Take your time, mate.
Sorry.
That wasn't sarcastic. Generally, take your time.
Take your time, mate. Get on with it.
Knife, isn't he?
Oh, here we go.
Oh, shall I come around that way?
Oh, there we go. There you go.
Wow!
That is amazing.
Let's have a round of applause, I think so.
Amazing!
Unreal.
Yeah, I think the best thing now is just to let try and people just take some of it. But it actually turned out, which was the main thing. Yeah, that was literally a whole day's work yesterday. So I'm just going to let people tuck into it now. Unfortunately, it's not vegetarian because it's got gelatin in it. But Rosie's like, I don't care. That's it. That was it for like video number 50 of Big Friendly Grub. So I think that earns a well-earned rest.
I mean, I can't make the first day without any chocolate or sugar. So.
And that was it. That was the giant tea cake. It was a bit of a journey. Many emotions were felt. Elation, fear, worry, fear, despair, fear. Mostly fear, to be honest. But I did it. It was so stressful. I can't even describe how stressful that was. I think some of the more stressful stuff I don't think I even video. But I did it. It was an exercise in just seeing if I could do it, really. It was the 50th video of Big Friendly Grub. I never thought I'd get this far. It's not a big channel by any means, but you know, it's mine. I enjoy it, and hopefully you enjoy it as well. And I just wanted to do something a little bit ambitious to try and mark the occasion. And it turned out pretty well. There were things that I could have done better. The mallowy filling could have been more mallowy, but considering I've never made marshmallow before, to make something like that in that quantity, I'm fairly pleased with. The chocolate came out pretty well. And to be honest, even the big biscuit was pretty good. So for something that was really, really ambitious and a one-man project, I'm pretty happy with it. So that was the 50th episode of Big Friendly Grub. What am I going to do for the 100th episode? I have absolutely no idea. I have absolutely no idea if I'll make it that far. But we'll see. If I make it that far, then perhaps you can sling me some suggestions of what you think I can do. But I'm just looking ahead to the next episode, in which I'm going to do something a lot simpler, I think, like showing you how to open a can of soup and make that, because I need to do something simpler after that. Whatever it is, I'm sure we'll have fun. But that's it from me. That's it for this 50th episode of Big Friendly Grub. And I will see you on the 51st episode of Big Friendly Grub. All the usual stuff, like the video, subscribe if you enjoyed this or anything else I do, and I will see you next time. Bye.